Hi, Betty Jeff here. On the topic of AI ethics, I want to cover in this video about AI replacing people. I mean, this is really one of the major topics of discussion on AI right now. And especially among people that do a lot of certain tasks that are repetitive in certain ways. And it's all about automation, right? It's all about Charlie Chaplin's Modern Times movie, right? Where, they they set up a robot to feed the assembly line workers, and it didn't quite work, right? We all laughed at watching that movie, right? If you haven't seen it, you got to watch that segment of the movie in Modern Times. It's hilarious. It didn't replace the assembly line worker, just it replaced the way for them to eat. Okay, so that was kind of the funny thing about it. But the reality of assembly line workers has always been, we're going to replace them with robots. And now we do see in the car manufacturing, you can see robots are doing a lot of the building of the car, and there are lots of that. But there's a lot of tasks that are done that the robots cannot do. And the whole thing of robotics. I mean, I used to work at Carnegie Mellon down another hall. They had their robotics lab, and we saw these robots they were building, and stuff, and they could do certain things. Now we have automatic vacuum cleaners that just can do they're self-driving vacuum cleaners, right? Or what, self-cleaning. Oh, not self-cleaning, they're self-driving. um Autonomous vacuum cleaners, what I call them. I don't know what they call it. I don't live in the United States any longer, so I don't know what I see these the word is for it, but that's what they do. But what I talk about is, and I've seen a lot of people in different fields, you know saying that they're fearful for all the we can see some of the AI things that come out. There's been a lot of in the kind of the automatic translation field. There's been a lot of that for decades. We can see in other areas now. There's been like automatic summarization, which is coming back again. But now the big thing is this whole open AI credit was called. It's Chat GPT. Um, and and that's getting a lot of buzz right now. I mean, here in December 2022 and now January 2023, and people are testing it out and seeing what we can do, and say, oh, now we humans will be replaced by this content creator automatically done by AI. And I've seen some of the people doing the tests, what they're saying about it. It's really interesting. I think one of the really interesting ones to see is the one about humans or people eating crushed glass. I think it was Dean Wiggins that did this with an AI, a modeler, and just did something to see what about people eating crushed glass and see what it could do. And I think what I recall is that it got down to it had did 12 case studies, different case studies about people eating crushed glass. Um, and then there were a lot of comments about that. That why would humans want to eat crushed glass and stuff, and that the whole debate, and that's the whole fun part of it. But I think that the thing here that's that's really interesting, and that's what I want to comment is this thing of automation and replacing people has always been. Yeah, if we think back millennia, okay, back when they were building the pyramids, and what we think of how they did it by setting, rather than having people moving the stone, they found ways to move the stone in other ways to get it up there. It's a pyramid, right? So you got to get these blocks up higher. The blocks get smaller as get higher, right? But they're still big. Well, maybe they get smaller at a certain point. I'm not an architect of pyramids, but I can see that at a certain point they're going to be smaller at the very top. But the whole thing is moving them, and how to move the rocks and the different stone along the rivers and stuff. And in the end, they replaced people. What they did is they just found better ways to optimize the transport. And I think that's the thing to keep in mind. And this was thousands of years ago. So, we have seen, the car, the automobile. has replaced using a horse and buggy, right? We have seen that typewriters were able to replace handwriting, and then the whole thing of having the printing press was able to replace partially handwriting in certain areas, certain scenarios. And I think this is really important to look at that. And I could go on and say the computers and how far we come, but we have been automating or semi-automating or optimizing with some type of mechanical automation, whether mechanical or electronic or whatever you want to call it, for a very long time. And so this is just another step along that path of how humans want to make it better. They don't want to just continue doing that they've always done. They want to. Humans are very conscious of their time, okay, and the control of time. Whereas the animal kingdom just doesn't. I mean, they just kind of they live, right, and they go in cycles of daily cycles, or but man is, I don't want to say man, human beings, okay, are very conscious of time. So this affects their idea of what we want to do with that time and be efficient with it. I mean, we can see animals that are efficient with their things too, and they do that. But human beings are a lot more focused on that. Let's say it that way. So the whole thing here of automation, we've been doing it for a very long time. That's all I can say, and we're just going to continue doing it. And the way that progress has happened with technologies, and I talked about this in 1999 at the Society for Automotive Engineering talk at the Top Tech, and I mentioned the vertical axis of technology and the horizontal axis of relationships. And you might not be able to access that one. Got a little background noise here of the restaurant, and they're cleaning the floor at 9:59, 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll just talk louder. And I mentioned that again in the University Gdansk talk up on my YouTube channel, and there in the middle of that talk, there's the graphs, and I explain it. And I think what just go take a look at that. I've actually done talk about this too. So one of these videos, so I actually mentioned it and talked about this. It's the vertical and horizontal axes of technology and implementation. And that just shows that technology is going up, and then it's going to kind of vacillate and fluctuate depending on how the humans have integrated it and how they've kind of dealt with the whole implementation and all the struggles and the relationships and the types of relationships are human computer compatibility and human computer interaction, right? So it's how we do it, right? We will continue to do things that automate, improvise, optimize, streamline, whatever you want to call it. It's how we do it. And what I'll finish with this here with this an analogy I've always said, and I've been saying this for probably, I'm sure I've used this analogy for 2 decades, at least 2 decades. Okay, I remember thinking about this in the late 1990s. And I think I started talking about it in the early 2000s, at least. And I remember this because when I was in college, one of my roommates in the house I was in he was a student at the college, but he was a cashier at the local supermarket, and he had skills to do 10 key punch, kind of the keyboard, right? And then I saw more than a decade later, watched how barcodes came out. And everybody was freaked out, right? Everybody's freaked out. Oh no, the barcodes are going to replace all of us workers in the supermarket. And I've always said that they didn't really replace people. It just displaced it kind of reconfigured the distribution of work and who did what. And so what it did is it took the tasks that were done on a kind of the 10 key little keyboard punch thing, or whatever kind of call this thing. It's a 10-key keyboard, right? Um, for numeric entry and data entry, and put that into a scanner, which wasn't very good at the beginning, right? And in the beginning, because there were lots of errors, they had all the barcodes out on the aisles too, right? And so what they would do is they would hire people on roller skates. Some of the people that would usually be doing the cash registers were now on roller skates going out to find the actual barcode in the aisle and see the price on it, right? And then come back to say to the cashier, this is the price that's out there, rather than here. And that's usually the problem. The price wasn't wrong, right? From what the people had seen on the aisle. So this has created a lot of skaters, roller skaters here. It didn't really fire people. Now it created more volume. You could do more volume with the time, so it was more efficient in that way. But it created a lot of stop and go op moments, which they had to the roller skaters, and the whole thing was to be time efficient with that. Now we don't see any more of those roller skaters out there, right? But what we do see are a lot of self-service kiosks, right, or checkout, and you got one or two people at that actually helping people, because there are lots of problems with those too, and I see this all the time. There are problems, get me blocked or something, that the thing didn't weigh the thing, so you got to come back and do it. So you're hiring people to do other skills to help and assist on other things and answer questions, and you got more people out in the aisles answering the questions. So that's where the more value skill, the more valuable skills come in, that a computer really can't do. It can't really advise you in things. We'll see, right? With AI, right? But the whole thing of the relationship, and this came up in a chat here with Shania Moray, in a chat, and someone brought up the whole thing of, the AI won't replace the relationships that you have in the sales relationship with customers. And someone said, yeah, well, could, or not all things. I mean, it was kind of the debate over that. But I think the person's right, that the more valuable skills in your advice that you're looking for. And I go down to my local music shop and ask for advice all the time, right? I don't buy things online because I want to go down and see how it works, and ask questions and make sure that it's really going to fit my needs, right? And this is what it comes down to. So the barcodes didn't replace everybody, right? And I think we need to keep this in mind. It just displaced the tasks, or it changed it made everyone think about how to redo the workforce, and what they would be doing, and to be more efficient with that, with the new technology and implementation they did. And as things evolve, everything you add a new technology, it creates disruption from what it used to be, and then you have to create a new kind of plan and the way to do it, and then you got to train people to do it, and then you create something new, and it kind of disrupts it again. And so it's constantly creating a lot of task reformulation. And I think that's the one thing that we need to think about this, is that as we see AI products coming out, prototypes and products come out, how will people adapt? I mean, I've seen this with like automatic translation, whole thing, automatic translation, post editing, same thing. Oh, it's going to replace us. But in the end, it doesn't replace in everything. It's in certain types of projects and things. And some things is better, and some things is less, and some things you use it, and sometimes you don't. And then you really want to use it, and you want to be good with it, and you want to see how to be more efficient when it works well. And I think that just the whole thing is, can people adapt to? Are they willing to accept without massive resistance, just for the sake of being resisting and rebelling? Just, I don't want to say rebelling, but just resisting the opportunity for new technology. How can they adopt and be early adopters of that, and actually run with it, and use it when it's good, and not use it when it's not good, and when they can use it, do it in a way that's going to just be most productive possible and efficient. And don't focus on when it's not working, because that's probably not when to use it, right? So that's my thoughts, at least on the replacing the human thing. There'll be more of the topics. I'm gonna bring up some other derivative topics to this one. Kind of, maybe I'll plant a seed here, is the whole thing of like intellectual property of content. Who wrote it? Who created this? Right. So that'll be another one. But there will be lots of other videos here. So looking forward to talking a little more about it, and hope that these things will help you think about it more too. And thanks for your comments and your feedback.